So
Yeah.
do you mind now?
Oh, keeps appearing, disappearing.
Right, well, very good evening, everybody. It is general election day, so I hope we've all been out and done our duty, gentlemen. And Mick took him in lunch shower. It was very busy, actually. Ours is normally a little sleepy polling station up in the church hall, but it was very busy for time to go back to 12:05 today. Very busy. So yeah, it's July the 4th. So happy whatever it is in America, Independence Day, isn't it? In July the 4th.
Yeah.
And this is episode 59 of the Malt Travel podcast. So, and again, as all things, we did manage to get together last week. Well, I did. So me and Bruce had a lovely adventure to a certain Mr. Smith's brewery, which we're going to hold back. I'm going to a little teaser at the end of today, and we managed actually we actually drinking wise we were pretty poor. We only managed a couple of pints in the in the local pub. And then unfortunately Bruce was working, so we got kind of waylaid, and we won't go into how many buzzes we missed. So by the time we got to York, we managed one of the York Tap, didn't we, Bruce? And then I hoteled it back to Malton, where I did meet up with Nick and again some old friends as well. So we had a few beers in there. So anyway, tonight's going to be a little bit of a mashup. We've all been off out and about, going to various places. So there's no real rhyme or reason. In fact, I've just culled some because there was far too many. So I think tonight we're going to cover London, and both these guys have been to London on separate trips. We've got Bruce has been to Lincoln, Lancaster, Carnforth, and somewhere else that we're going to catch up on. Nick, there's somewhere else that slipped my head. I was going to talk about Whitby, but I've dropped Whitby off because we'll leave Whitby for another week. So there's somewhere else I'm sure you've been that we'll look at. And I've recently been to Tenby and Wales, yeah, Barmouth. Although I haven't got any pictures for that, and Tenby. But I wanted to start tonight because it was something that happened a couple of weeks ago, a couple of Saturdays back. We were going. Son and nephews. We said we were going to have a Friday. It was a lovely Saturday afternoon, so we decided to mainly do the Hartsill Mile, Martsill Run, which we've talked about before. It's kind of Stokes' version of the Headingley Mile, the Otley Road Run. I think there are 13 pubs. And I know, Nick, you've done most of the pubs with me at some point. I know we've actually done the whole, maybe we have done the whole thing. It's an up and down, so it's quite a big hill, so you go up and down the hill. So we decided we would do that. I was actually out in a historic tour around Stoke-on-Trent, kind of early afternoon and morning. And so I met them in Wetherspoons, which is in Stoke, and we walked up the bank and down the other side into Newcastle-under-Lyme. And we decided what we would do is we were going to go in all the lounges because the lads are fairly new to kind of pub culture. One's 20, one 25, 26, one's just turned 18. And they were asking me about lounges and bars. So, I thought, it's something, yeah. So we decided every pub that had a lounge, we were going to go into the lounge rather than the bar. And it got me thinking. It's quite an interesting thing because you don't really see many bar lounges. And in fact, actually on that trip up and down the hill, there's less than half the pubs now that actually have separated rooms. They're either micros with one big room, or the Wetherspoons kind of thing where they just knock all the walls down. But again, it was a thing, wasn't it? It was a bit of a thing. So I thought, let's start with that definitely as a theme, and we can maybe talk a little bit about kind of what that looks like and how it feels like. But certainly pubs of a certain age. Normally, I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to this, the lounge is always on the right and the bar's on the left, or as far as I'm thinking of pub, and I mean that's not always the case, but often that's what happens, isn't it? And a little bit of research into it. In the olden days, obviously, it was a little bit class-based and also gender-based. So the bar was often men only, up until even some of the 80s in some areas. The bar was very much male domain. The bar always probably doesn't have a carpet. It's a bit rougher. Normally has the telly in for the football, and normally there's a lot of people standing up at the bar, whereas the lounge often was for both ladies and men, or actually originally probably for the female side, is often a little bit more smarter, has nicer chairs, nice little lounges and things. and it's often less rowdy. In fact, some of the pubs on that Hartsel, the two pubs that have got traditional lounge, the lounge is always very empty. Everybody's in the bar. So that was the idea. I also, actually, in some places, they actually charge more. And I think in Scotland, it still occurs sometimes. You get charged more if you go in the lounge and the bar. And then, of course, we've got snug, we've got smoke rooms, we've got vaults. So, yeah, there's a whole range, isn't there? So, gents, any thoughts about bars or lounges? And thinking back, we often did choose the lounge, didn't we? I don't know, because we felt we were either a bit scared of going in the bar. I don't know.
Oh, right. And generally now, I think I generally gravitate towards the lounge, unless it's a really historic pub and the lounge, it's a really cosy one. I mean, some of the country pubs have stunning lounges. I mean, the pub at Longmarston near us, one of the Sam Smith's pubs, that has astonishing little country bar. I think the currently closed King's Arms, a bar there is fantastic. But generally, I'm more a lounge person, like you said. Obviously, to be more quiet vibe, really. I mean, now tonight, on the way back from where I've been tonight, I popped to the Crystal Palace. I think I'll be in the lounge. The bar was quite rowdy. They have a pool table in there, and it's horses for courses, really, isn't it? Of course.
Nicholas, thoughts on lounges?
Yeah, I would think, your bar is more for your locals and your regulars. And the problem you get now sometimes that there can be nobody else in the lounge. So I would feel more comfortable going in the bar as long as I wasn't taking up somebody's seat, a regular seat. I remember when we went to the Garner's Arms, Bruce, in outskirts of Harrogate.
Oh, yeah.
You went to the bar. Me and Ben sat in what you call the lounge, and you were insistent we should go in the bar. And I said no, because the bar is full of the regulars. And if us three are strangers sitting there and take somebody else's seat, they're going to be a bit pissed with us. They might not have said anything, but I said, look, that's their domain. That's where they go. They go there to meet the mates and have a chat. They don't want three strangers sat in there. To which you turned around and said, well, I am a regular. So I think if there's plenty of room in the bar is always the heart of the pub, as it were. And certainly during the day, when pubs tend to be quiet, I would think the bar staff would prefer you to go in the bar, and then they're not having to watch two different places. But when a pub is busy, I would more migrate towards the lounge. Really, the lounge is more for everybody, whereas the bar is for your regulars and your locals and people who literally go there every day to have a chat and to meet up with mates.
Yeah, I think it's probably nice to have the choice, isn't it? It's good that some of those pubs retain that and a little bit of choice. There's a couple of pictures for those on YouTube. So there's a couple of my local pubs. So actually, the one on the left where I'm in shot. Actually, halfway on our beer quest on that day, we did the opposite, because the house at home is a regular home, but we always go in the lounge when we go in the house at home. So we said this time we're going to go into the bar. And that was interesting because they're watching football, but they were all betting on horse racing. It's quite weird. Everybody in that bar was watching horse racing on their mobile phone. And anyway, my nephew's a bit of a turf head. Came out with a few. Oh, I was at Royal Ascot last week, and I was doing this. And then they all asked him for bets, and he'd let slip that he had won a bit of money that day. And he said, "Oh, what's your bet? What's your next?" So he goes, "Oh, I think this is a really good horse. Put your money on this." Anyway, the whole pub then decided to put bets on this particular horse, and everybody shouted, "Hey, you got to put these!" This lad knows what he's talking about. He showed all the pictures on his phone. He's a member at Cheltenham, and of course, this horse came in 7th. So it was like the pub went very quiet. Anyway, thankfully they saw the funny side of it, and off they all went. So that was quite useful. Yeah. Right, Nicholas, I'm going to remember it this week. So you're already you cracked into a drink. So what are you on tonight?
Well, believe it or not, I realised that my larder was almost empty, so I just popped into Asda. They don't have a big range, and I managed to acquire a bottle of Ossett White Rat.
The Doom Bar of the North. That is becoming the Doom Bar of the North.
I think you're right there. Interesting enough,
it's still independently brewed. Put it that way.
Yeah, but it's every bloody pub in Midlands. I'll tell you that for now.
It's everywhere.
Well, that's because it's a good beer and it keeps well.
I was watching that Really Old Craft Beer Man yesterday, and he reviewed the Salt Brewery in Hooch. It's called Lemon Lemon by my hand, lemon. You're twisting my lemons, man. St. Morrison's. He described it. I mean, to be fair to him, he knows what he's talking about. That bloke. He describes a new low in supermarket beer. He said it was disgusting. And I have to say,
going back to what I used to love
Ossett beer. I used to love Ossett beer, but it's just that it's everywhere. And the trouble is familiarity breeds contempt. I used to when I go to, but now it's at the end of the street. But it's just everywhere, and I'm just sick of the sight of it, really. And you know, when you drink it like that, familiarity.
I think every pub in Stoke has had it on, has had White Rat on in the last 3 or 4 months. Every pub has had it on at least once.
Yeah. And there's so many beers out there now. You start drinking this,
it keeps well. It serves well.
Yeah,
but it's just it's almost become bland through the sheer familiarity of it, hasn't it? Really.
And it's the right type of drink for this time of year. You know, it's a light beer, but it's still a 4% as well. But anyway, I'm drinking out of a Great Newsom glass that not the last time me and Michael met up, but the time before I acquired in. What was that little town next to where we went to that pub, Mike?
Give him other clue. There's been a lot of water on the bridge.
Well, no, when we were over Oswestry, then
right,
we went to the little market town place just before we met you.
Whitchurch.
Whitchurch. So lo and behold, went in a charity shop in Whitchurch. And how on earth a Great Newsom glass ended up in Shropshire Welsh borders, but £1 for a Great Newsom glass. So that's what I'm enjoying it. I also picked up a Shove Halfpenny board as well, Bruce.
Pardon?
I also picked up a Shove Halfpenny board as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. That was a bargain. 15 quid from an antique shop. So we'll have a game of Shove Halfpenny next time I see you.
Did you get
right? Well, I'm on. And the
give me half a dozen halfpennies.
My camera's workable. I am on quite an interesting brew, so I forgot to cancel my beer 52 this month, and so they sent me a Scandinavian pack, which actually is quite interesting. So this is actually something called Hilly Brygge from Sweden, and it is 212. It's one of their pale ales, which is quite nice. But I'm going on to, and Bruce mentioned the real ale and craft guy. I'm going on. I've had a bottle of this already. Again, I don't think you can see it on there. This is Marks and Spencer's Belgian cherry wheat beer, which is
lovely,
about 180 a bottle at the moment. And I've had one, and it is very, very nice. Again, Nick's point about it being a summery drink. So I will in a minute. I will crack that. It's a fantastic colour. Belgian cherry wheat beer, say Marks and Spencer. It's actually brewed by that Elephant Brewery, which I can only never pronounce in Belgium. So it's the real stuff. It's got a strange name, hasn't it? I will find it in a minute. But it's the one with the elephant on. So if you're into Belgian beers, you know which one I mean. I'll come back to in a minute. Right, let's crack on because we've got a bit to get through. So in terms of a little bit of beer news, as always, as it's general election, I did think I'd have a quick look. Beer's not been mentioned that much. I know actually on some of the Vox Pops, people talked about pubs. I did look at all of them, but I couldn't be asked writing it all down. So if the Conservatives do find some way of retaining power, which is looking very dim at the moment, what they have said is that they are going to look at a new taxation for alcohol, and they're going to try and reduce, if you like, flip round so that there's always going to be more tax on supermarket alcohol compared with pubs, which I think is interesting. Labour, interestingly, they talk a bit more, probably useful for Republicans, really, in that they're going to look at the business rates. And they feel that pubs get massively penalised because of the current taxation rate, the kind of business rates, and also very much going to beef up the community right to buy. So where a pub is under threat of closure or demolition, or just gets demolished, like the wonky pub in the Black Country, they're going to beef that up. So it'll be interesting to see, whatever the result is tonight, what impact it has on the industry. And it's interesting because there are things are moving. So I don't know if you guys have picked this up. So the long-running saga of beering and brewing in Burton, which seems to be imploding almost every week. So some good news and some interesting news. First of all, the Burton Bridge Brewery, which was one of the kind of little local independents. And Bruce, me and you went there many, many moons ago.
Oh, yeah, I've got a picture. It was fantastic.
Talking probably 25 years ago, me and you went when it wasn't new, but it was in its infancy. and they began brewing down the side of this what was a pub. It's right on the River Trent, right next to it, a little bit away from the main Bass Brewery. And of course, with the kind of folding of Bass, etc., they became the stalwart of kind of keeping some of this stuff going. So they went up for sale. I think the people who had it are just getting ready for retiring. Anyway, thankfully, somebody has bought it. And interestingly, it is a company who something called Conkers, which you guys have probably never heard of, but here in the Midlands, it's quite a popular. It's a theme park about conkers. Would you believe? I mean, you can almost have a theme park or anything, can't you? But it's part of the National Forest, and it is for. I've never been, but people have been actually say it's quite good. It's quite nice. Anyway, people behind Conkers have bought the Burton Bridge Brewery, but they've also managed to persuade Molson Coors to sell the Heritage Brewing Company. So this is the brewing company which was tied to the Bass National Museum, and Conkers have also bought that as well. So they've bought the rights to, maybe not on that site, but they've bought the rights to the museum. So hopefully they're going to roll all this together. I understand that Heritage Brewing, which was trying to keep some of the old Bass and Incoop and Ansell's beers alive, they've continued. So they're going to be brewed now on the Burton Bridge Brewery site. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that. I mean, I think it's good, and I guess it makes some business sense to tie all those things together. So the Burton Bridge Brewery, where they can brew both Burton Bridge and they can brew Heritage Brewing beers, and also hopefully maybe a reciting, but a reawakening of the National Museum of Brewing.
Let's hope so.
Despite them losing I think they've retained one of the redundant union systems that was always there, I think, as a museum piece. So let's keep an eye on that one. And then kind of more contemporary to us, I guess. I think we just touched on this last time we met. So Daleside Brewing, which is, I think, on the outskirts of Harrogate, isn't it? And I've always enjoyed those beers, actually. They've been quite nice beers. So they were waiting to administration, but nearby Roosters picked them up and thankfully have taken on the name, and they are going to commit to maintaining Daleside. So they said they're not going to get rid of it. They're going to carry on brewing Daleside. I think they've brought some of the brewing team over again. They are going to close the brewery, though, and they're going to move all of the production to the is it Hornbeam? Isn't it Hornbeam site just outside of Harrogate? And we went to their tap, and it's a massive brewery and tap room, isn't it? So there certainly was space there. Apparently, they're going to bring the yeast from Daleside to hopefully try and maintain that Daleside flavour. So that was it. So Daleside were found in 91.
They never seemed to do a big race at Daleside.
No.
I think all Legover was their most well-known one, and then they did Trickle Bitter, and then probably did do a blonde, Daleside blonde, but
blonde beers
never used to have a wide range of different beers.
Standard choice in the one I had Rat in Ripon, and
the blonde was really nice. Yeah. But then something else again we've talked about quite a lot really is obviously Asahi, who took over Fuller's and various other pubs elsewhere, and initially we're very, very, we're going to keep tradition, etc. Well, they've just announced that they're going to close the Meantime Brewery, which is in Greenwich, and they're going to close all that down completely, and move all production across to Fuller's Griffin Brewery. And I think Dark Star were also part of that Meantime brewing thing as well. So those beers again are not going to be brewed there anymore in Greenwich. They're going to move across London and all be brewed at the Griffin Brewery in Fuller's. So again, does that mean they're going to maintain those lines? Maybe, but as we know, you can't
Dark
brew
Star
beer the same.
Asahi, or are they Heineken now?
No, the Dark Star, as far as I understand. Well, that was in that What's Brewing article. It talks about Meantime and Dark Star going across to Asahi and being brewed at Fuller's. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Again, maybe one for us gents here. This has kind of been snuck in. Again, I think we talked about Holt's some time ago, because we visited a couple of Holt's places, Nick, when we were in Stockport, and a little bit like Sam Smith, they're actually going to allow people around the brewery. So they are, for that, what I understand to be it says there, the first time ever, they're going to launch its own beer festival and also offer first-time brewery tours. And this is going to be September to the 21st of September. They're going to open up the brewery. And that will also include a look around the actual buildings. and a brewery which has been the same family for 6 generations. So again, maybe a once in a lifetime trip to go and have a look around Joseph Holt's in Manchester. So we perhaps need to put that in our calendar, Jen, to see we can work that one out. Yeah, it'd be interesting.
That would be excellent
to look at that one. And again, back onto Fuller's. Fuller's again. This was a little bit. This is some time ago now. I think end of May. They have just sold quite a lot of their pubs to Admiral Taverns. 37 pubs worth £18.3 million. I think they've agreed that they're going to continue to sell Fuller's beers. And they're all mainly in the southeast, but Fuller's have 154 pubs. I know you guys talk about some of the little weird outreach pubs. So the one that's near York that's kind of stands out on its own. You do wonder whether, again, in certainly with the cost of transport, whether they're going to be able to kind of keep themselves going. Sutton on Derwent, isn't it? What's it?
Yeah, actually, it's got the signage. It's independent again now, but and they still had London Pride, but sadly, Fuller's have a link with it. But that's only
it always was independent. He just had Fuller's on as a regular beer.
Right.
Because when I was a part of the Fuller's members club, whenever they used to offer you a free beer or whatever else, it never used to be listed. And I emailed them once and said, I think the nearest Fuller's pub is in Birmingham. I said, that's no good to me. And I'm sure I emailed and said, look, there's a pub not too far away that has your beers on tap all the time. And they said, no, it's not Fuller's pub. So I think it was just the choice of the landlord. But then it makes you wonder how they actually got it up here. Who was supplying it with it, really.
Presumably these are some of the smaller pubs. I mean, you look at things like the old Custom House in Portsmouth, and I was in the Counting House in the city a couple of weeks ago. I mean, those places are insane. The investment, that one in Birmingham that me and you went to, Nick. I mean, but they're so expensive, the Fuller's pubs. I mean, sneak up to £7 a pint now. And the food, I mean, to be honest, what they're charging for it looks pretty moderate, really. We're in the Campton House, a stunning pub, that dome in the middle, but not a lot of people in there, really, so maybe these are smaller ones, but it's a shame the Fuller's pubs went because they were great places, but they seem to have these big, high-end, very elaborate, very plush pubs now, don't they?
And then just to finish off, I don't know again you picked this up. This came up in one of the kind of I think it was one of the weekend papers about places to go, beery places to go, and this was one in Belgium. And I know me and Bruce were talking about a trip maybe to Belgium at some point in the near future.
Yeah.
And apparently this is called the Culminator. It is very difficult to find by all accounts, and the door is locked. So you have to ring the bell, and the little wizened old owners, which is a lady and a man who've owned it for many, many, many years, come and look at you and decide whether they should let you in, whether they should let you in or not. And apparently you sometimes have to go 3 or 4 times before they will let you in. And you have to prove to them that you are a beer connoisseur and that you're not just coming in to tick beers off, but you come in to enjoy their beers. And they don't have a massive range, but apparently it's just like a labor of love that this married couple have run this bar like this forever. Inside, apparently, it looks like something out of the 1930s. But I say the first job is actually getting allowed in, so you have to.
What about in Belgium? Is it?
I think it is in Bruges. I think it is in Bruges. I think the main thing is in Bruges. So we'll have to put it on the list. And somebody said it's just one of those classics that if you can, you've got to try and get there. Don't go in a group. Go in ones or two and be prepared to maybe have to go back a couple of times because if the bloke doesn't look like him, he just won't let you in. So, which is why not? Yeah, good on him. And
if I'm on a day or 2-day trip to Belgium, I've got better things to do than keep walking backwards forward to the same bloody pub.
and they did say
it's like queuing to get upstairs in Trembling Madness in York. No chance. There's plenty of other places I could have a drink there.
Again, if you look there, one of their beers is 17% proof. So again, it's not for the faint-hearted to get some of that down here. 16.5% proof. Yeah, and also all the bottles, most of the bottles are aged as well. You can see on this list there. So they've got 2012 beers, 2014 beers, 2013 beers. They've got 2014, 2011. So again, a lot of the beer is aged as well. So Very interesting, very interesting. Right, let's try and catch up then on some of these beery highlights. So we're going to kick off with Nicholas, who claims to have found potentially the cheapest pint in London, and actually with a view. So he was pottering down the river, I understand, Nicholas. So come on, tell us the story behind this.
No, the last time I went to London, I found this spot because it's when I went to the Wildlife Centre, which is between Putney Bridge and Hammersmith Bridge on the south bank of the Thames. It's where they run the boat race from. So I don't mind going to London, but I get fed up of being in the centre, and I always try and go along new territory. So I came across the Rocket, as it's called, which is right in the shadow of Putney Bridge, right on the river, and it's got a lovely big outdoor drinking area, properly nice and tidy paved area, and you can sit outside and watch the world go by. And I say, just in the shadow of Putney Bridge. So going out to London a fortnight ago, Jackie was going to a concert, plenty of time on my hands. Went to Portobello Road, the market, never been before. That was a bit disappointing. So I decided to walk from Portobello, which is Notting Hill, into Victoria to find what is claimed to be the smallest pub in central London, which is called something like the Beer and Cask, which I found. And then headed down to Wandsworth, across the bridge, and then to the Ship First, which is talking about Dark Star. It's not a Fuller's pub, I don't think, but it's an independent now. I think it was Young's pub at one point, but they were selling Dark Star. It's all right because once again it's on the river, but it's a different sort of a vibe. But I say then walked through Wandsworth Park, had a quick watch. So there was a game of cricket going on, and then got myself to the Rocket. Went in. The beers on the bar were a good selection. Priced up at £2.99. Presented me 50 pence off camera voucher, which I expected to pay £2.49, which is great value anyway. And the lad on the bar said, "Oh," he said, "that's a manager's special, so it's gone down to £1.71. Bargain."
That's insane for London, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sat and enjoyed that in the sunshine, and then Jackie finished the concert. She came and met me because she was over in Chelsea where a concert was. And out of all things, obviously you get your free drink with your meal. So went on the craft, because I tend to find this now, in different parts of the country, they have the different craft selection on. And ended up having a kind of Son of a Beach, which is Kirby Lonsdale of all places, Mike, where we were in the new year.
Son of a Beach is Tenby.
Tenby, yeah.
Tenby,
and
which
then
I was drinking. It was
right, okay. Well, I did have that in spoons.
Kirby Lonsdale's
it was
on the
Kirby
other side,
Lonsdale
isn't
one
it?
that I had.
Which one it
That's
was? The
right.
one with fire on it, yeah.
Yeah.
I've just cracked my you can see it there. That is the cherry wheat beer. It's 3.5%, so it's quite it's quite coffable, and it's very tasty. Right, so while we're in London, Nicholas, two more to report back on. So you reckon you found the smallest pub, but I always thought that was the Harp was the smallest pub in London, and certainly where I've been, and that's very small. But you reckon the Cask and Glass is supposed to be the smallest pub in London?
Well, anybody looking at on YouTube, that's the size of the pub. It only has a one floor, the ground floor where the bar is, and literally the window next door. That is where the little lounge area is. So that is a full space. And if you look at aerial shots of this, that is just off Victoria. So it took a bit of finding, but they reckon, obviously, during the week when all the workers pile out, they literally just fill that road junction there. It's like a little T-junction. The road directly in front of the pub can still be quite busy. The T-junction is just residential. And they reckon that whole area, the road is just completely blocked with people drinking outside. So I say literally, it's about the size of a bar or a lounge without any other rooms whatsoever. No upstairs, no cellars, no nothing. And as I say, it's a shepherd name. But I mean, I was paying £6.40 in there, and then as I say, the Ship on the south bank of the Thames, I think that was £6.20. So yeah, to get to Spoons and pay £1.70 for once again what was a decent pint of beer, it was a bargain. But yeah, the Cask and Glass, that's it. It's reputed to be in central London the smallest smallest bar in the city of London.
I still think the Harp is small because the Harp, they actually have to open the window to open the door. So the Harp is just one single, very thin bar. You get more than 10 people in there, it's absolutely rammed. And again, as you say, most people then drink outside. And the whole front of the pub opens. So I've not known the door. I've not all. They kind of swing the whole bloody window. So I'll look for a picture of that. I know, Bruce. Me and you've been the Heart Brews. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The Heart Brews.
You've been there. I think you've been there. That's
yeah,
just off
sure,
Covent Garden.
Nick, not in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then come on, Nicholas, tell us about this Irn Brew Sour that you were on and what it tasted like.
Well, that was the Whitby. So on my Monday, Tuesday off now, I like to go for a walk. So this week I set off in Scarborough along the Cinder Track. It's not a very nice start to the walk. You have to go through Sainsbury's car park, and it's in the sound slightly downtrodden area of Scarborough. But as you walk out, it was where the railway used to connect up to Whitby is no longer there. So you walk on the Cinder Track. So I actually did 15 miles, got myself to Robin Hood's Bay, and I could have carried on to Whitby, but I thought if I carry on to Whitby, I'm not going to get it till 5, and I want to get myself a beer. So caught the bus into Whitby, went in beer o'clock first, and then I was on Untapped and was looking what was in the local area before I went to the Spoons. And spotted the Green Dragon. They had this Irn Brew Sour on. Now, as you all know, I'm not a big fan of sour beer, I'm not a big fan of craft beer, but I thought I'll have to give it a try because Irn Brew is one of my favourite soft drinks. So I thought it'd be nice to give the Green Dragon a bit of trade. I know it's one where you always go, Mike. You know, it's completely independent. It is a unique place, and they don't open long hours. So I thought, well, I'll bob down there. And I mean, talking about small bars, I think there was 6 of us in there, and it was just about full.
There's no big room.
I got in there for about just gone 4 o'clock, and I think she was shouting last orders at 4:45 because I was sat at the bar with one of these, this murky orange coloured beer, and she said, by then there was me and 2 of the blokes left in there, and she said, do you lads want anything else to drink? Because I'm going to shout last orders. That was at 4:45 on 4 on a Tuesday. So I said, no, I think I'll be fine with this one, thanks. So that was 2/3 of an Irn Brew Sour brewed by a brewery up in Edinburgh. The smell was exactly just like Irn Brew. The taste was like Irn Brew, bit of sourness to it, but obviously with an alcoholic kick as well. And I think that was £4 for 2/3 of a pint. But obviously in the Green Dragon, they very rarely sell pints. They sell a third, a half, or 2/3. They just had 1 pint on offer, but that was for a lager, I assume, because of the football being on at the moment. So that was a German lager, and that was in a pint stein. I tried it, wouldn't have it again, but there we are. And then bobbed back to other Spoons and enjoyed a beer in there for once again. 3.20 Spoons with me 50 pence off, so came out at £2.70, I think it was.
Very good. Now, Bruce, you've been to London as well. So you're going to give us a quick rundown because I think you not only found the Brick Lane Bakery, the bagel place, but you also found some quite stunning Guinness as well. So
we did, we've had very bad luck with our search for this so-called best Guinness in the UK. And on the island, to be fair, because we all went to Mulligan's and it was nice, but wasn't outstanding by any means, was it? It was a boiling hot day that day, but people keep telling me it's really good. I mean, we've been to O'Shea's, and I think the Guinness in there is better than O'Shea's, and there's certainly a pub at Altrincham, Kennedy's in Altrincham, that had stunning Guinness. The Mulligan's beer is considered some of the best in the UK, but we were all disappointed, weren't we? And in fact, the dive went to the Gravediggers in Dublin. That seems sacrilege saying it. We had some lovely Guinness in Dublin. The Gravediggers, though, again, we were disappointed with it. Again, it was very quiet on a Monday, which rammed in a weekend, turning people away. So the Old Shillelagh is often said by many people to be the best pint Guinness in the UK, and it's in Stoke Newington. They're just beyond Islington, and I have to say, thankfully this time we're disappointed. The pub itself is absolutely fantastic, and it's not an Irish pub. It feels like a proper Irish pub. Staff are friendly. They had side owner for sale as well. Big, long, narrow pub. And the Guinness was absolutely stunning. Absolutely amazing. £6 a pint, which isn't bad when you think Nick was paying £6.40 for a pint of Cascades and other places. Definitely worth a trip. As we said down here, especially when it gets a bit dark in there, it would be the nearest thing in this country, I think, to being transported to a proper Irish pub. And I say it feels very, very authentic. Number 73 bus goes from outside King's Cross as well. So definitely that was quite fantastic. It was the O'Shea. I say we also talked about the Campton House earlier. This is a huge pub in the city. We went to Horizon 22. You can see the view of those on YouTube from there. That's the free viewing tower. Have you been up there yet, Nick? Horizon 22?
No, not that one. No.
Yeah, so it's free to go.
That Counting House. That Count House looks just like the one in Birmingham, Bruce.
It does. You're exactly right. You go inside and they have the big dome. The one in Birmingham's a theatre, but again, fantastic. The money they've spent on is stunning. And you say, I thought exactly the same thing. So definitely worth the trip. But as you can see, not many people there. Ferociously expensive. And then I say, we went at the Horizon 22, which is free to go up. It's taller than the Shard. Must have killed the Shard's profits. Because, of course, now with the City of London, if you want to extend the building to a skyscraper, you have to incorporate a free-to-visit tourist attraction in order they're going to bring people in to counter the working from home culture and also get somebody flushing through the weekend. So great idea that by the City of London Corporation, and that is well worth the trip. I think that's free. And from there, we got the number 8 bus down to Shoreditch. I was quite underwhelmed by Shoreditch, I have to say. It's supposed to be dead trendy. It's just all those big box parks and was quite shabby and I'd very little to commend it. But did go to the famous Brick Lane Bakery with its rude staff, certainly played the part well. Astonishingly cheap for London. You get a loaf of bread there for about £1.20, 6 bagels for about £1.50. And of course, famous for the salt beef bagels, just at £6. I mean, what is astonishing, you've got these very shabby street people from all over the world visiting there. But we talked to quite a few Americans foodies who come to visit, and they were saying that, and the bagels are amazing. For £6, they come loaded up with pickles and mustard. And they were saying that they'd been to Katz's Deli in New York, paid, I think it's $28 we're saying now, with not a patch on what they're serving up at Brick Lane, but I say they're very authentic. Nowhere to sit out on the quite shabby street and avoid the piles of vomit, but definitely worth the trip. His bagel bake. But yes, it was quite a jolly good day out. And I was down there on Tuesday for the Hampton Court Flower Show. Sadly, where they were rocking out beer at £7.65 at a pint, but much better than the Chelsea Flower Show, Hampton Court. But I say beer sadly not good at all. And that was about it from that trip. Yeah.
Right, that little bit of music means that we're just going to get to the end of the part 1, and we're going to have a little break, and then we will come back, and we're going to visit a little bit further north in the UK. So, gents, have a break, and we'll see you back shortly.